Hey everyone, so today is March 24th, 2026, and this is the crypto risk update on into the Cryptoverse's risk charts for the month of March. Now, these charts are a primary technical signal that I use to know where each of my favorite crypto assets are sitting in terms of riskiness. Low risk value means we are in value territory, low risk to reward. High risk value means we are expensive, and so a high risk to reward. Very simple. The closer we get to 1.0 risk, the more I'm thinking about selling, and vice versa for 0.0 risk, I'm buying. Now, if you find these monthly crypto risk updates useful, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into today's content. Now, before we dive into the crypto risk charts, we have to always pay attention to where we are within the ISM. In last month's update, the ISM sat at 52.6, and now we're currently sitting at a PMI reading of 52.4, which is a small decrease. However, remember, the golden number is 50, which once we have cleared above and maintain, we will see a takeoff in crypto markets. And I believe that we will maintain 50 from here on out. So yes, I believe we are moving into that economic expansion phase and staying there, which bodes well for our bags. Next, we want to know where Bitcoin is sitting based off of the Bitcoin power law. Now, if you don't understand what the Bitcoin power law is, please go watch my video titled Bitcoin is Law. I made this recently explaining what the Bitcoin power law is and how you can use it to reduce that psychological FUD and weight of emotional opinions going around in the crypto space, especially during times like this. Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is math, Bitcoin is a network, and therefore its value can be calculated based off of its adoption and its usage. Now, today's Bitcoin power law price sits at $126,000. This is where Bitcoin is considered fairly valued. Now, we're currently sitting at 70K, so we're 40% undervalued from where we should be today. Now, the lower band means the lowest price Bitcoin will see right now is 63K, and the upper band, which is the highest price Bitcoin will see right now, is 378K. Now, why do I give these values the time of day? Well, because these numbers are accurate 96% of the time since the Genesis block was mined in 2009. Bitcoin's price oscillates between the upper and lower bounds 96% of the time since inception. So do with this information what you will. So onto the risk charts. Now, as always, we start the segment off by looking at Bitcoin's market dominance and the total crypto market cap and get a gauge of where we are in the general market and where we could be going based off of these risk charts. So first, the color-coded risk chart for Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance is sitting at 58.5% right now as of this recording. And in previous cycles, when liquidity really begins expanding globally and markets shift into that economic expansion phase, altcoin dominance leads the market. And so Bitcoin dominance falls, as it did in 2017, as it did in 2021. So please stop listening to all these lettuce-handed Larrys who are telling you that alt season is never going to happen again. Alt season isn't a crypto-only phenomenon. This happens in stocks too, in speculative stocks. When the economy expands, money sloshes in the system and risk-taking increases, speculation increases, and this capital makes its way down the risk curve. Alt season will happen. There will be froth, and that froth will find its way further down the risk curve into altcoins and crypto. Again, that's a function of the end of the business cycle, not a crypto-specific phenomenon. This business cycle has been lengthened, which is why it hasn't happened yet. So, that's all. So just patience. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Now, total crypto market cap, we have stayed in the turquoise blue territory, a buyer's area of the risk values. Now, sitting at a $2.4 trillion market cap as of today, up from the last month's 2.3 trillion market cap. Now, the risk value is currently sitting at 0.389, and the 1.0 risk value today sits at 19.284 trillion, which is a small increase from January's 19 trillion flat 1.0 risk value. Now, first up is going to be Bitcoin, obviously. First, the color-coded risk chart for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's sitting at 70K currently, risk value of 0.323. Also sitting in the turquoise, which is buyer's territory from a risk perspective. Now, the current risk values table, the 1.0 risk value sits at 330K Bitcoin, which again remains the same from February's 330K 1.0 risk value. Now, Ethereum. First, the color-coded risk chart for ETH, currently sitting at $2,140, risk value of 0.456, and the risk color is green, which is pretty neutral, neither massive buy or sell risk area. Now, the current risk value table, the 1.0 risk value sits at $11,870, which is a sliver of a decrease from February's $11,880 1.0 risk value. Now, XRP. The color-coded risk chart for XRP shows us a 0.443 risk value currently at a price of $1.40. Now, color-coded risk is in the green also, which again, signaling neutral, no man's land territory, neither strong buys or strong sells in this area. Now, the risk value table, the 1.0 risk value sits at $7.63, which is a slight increase from February's $7.54 1.0 risk value. And again, XRP is not Ripple. I don't know why it says Ripple. Ripple is a company building on the XRP. Ripple is not XRP. That's like a mistake from a decade ago. So that needs to be fixed if any Into the Cryptoverse person manages to see this. Now, I just wanted to take a moment and remind everyone that we got channel memberships up and running. So come join the Apex Wealth Collective community by becoming a member. Get early access to videos, member-only videos like these crypto risk updates, but more on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Member-only live streams, Q&As, additional market commentary, loyalty badges, custom emojis, and more. So hit that join button down below in the description or scan the QR code on screen to enjoy some member-only content and up your investing game. Now back to the Crypto Alpha. Now we're going to look at Solana. Didn't think I forgot about Solana, did you? So price color coded chart shows us a risk value of 0.358 today at a price of $89, sitting in the turquoise color, signifying, buyer's territory, just slightly. And the risk value table shows us the 1.0 max risk value sits at $998, almost $999, which again is no change from February's update. Now, XLM, also known as Stellar. The price color coded chart tells us a risk value today of 0.284 at a price of 16.6 cents, which is a low risk color, good buy territory. The values have literally not changed since last month's update. And moving into the risk value table, we see a 1.0 max risk value sitting at 225, which is again, no change from the February update. Now, next we have my biggest allocation to spot crypto currently outside of Bitcoin, and that is SUI. So sitting at a bottom of the barrel, 0.002 risk value at a 94-cent price tag. Super, super low risk blue color here. Great buying area. As you guys know, I've been DCAing anything I can into SUI recently. I made several big SUI purchases back in January, back in February, and smaller one now in March. So I'm happy with that. The risk value table for SUI now, the 1.0 max risk value sits at $44.17, which is a big drop from the February update of $51.87. Still though, huge risk to reward in this one, in my personal opinion, which is why it makes up the largest altcoin position for me currently. And lastly, my second biggest crypto spot allocation, HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph, currently sitting at a 0.169 risk value at 9.3 cents. And it's in the blue color territory, which again signifies low risk, great buying opportunity. Risk levels, the 1.0 max risk sits at $1.70, which is a whopping 1 cent lower than in the February update. And that is all for the March 2026 crypto risk update. We're pretty much in line across the board since last month's update, except for SUI, where it had a pretty steep drop in the 1.0 max risk value. But remember, patience, as always. We're never going to get the micro, 100% correct in a business cycle. But as long as we can get the macro trend, that's all that matters. So remember what my timeline is when I share this information, right? I'm investing over an entire market cycle, which is anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 years, depending on, however long the business cycle lasts. I'm not buying and selling every few days or weeks. I'm only adding on dips like these. Now, the bear market will come. Don't worry, I'm not just some permable who thinks crypto is going to go up forever. There's going to be massive corrections. There's going to be bear markets in between. But there is still time before we even begin to cross that bridge after this business cycle. So do with this information what you will, my friends. Now, let me know down in the comments what altcoins you guys are interested in, if any, and what you're adding to on these dips. I'd be very curious to see where you guys are seeing value in this market. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this March 2026 crypto risk update and found it informative. And if you have stuck around this long, go ahead and catch another one of my videos right over here, or check out my channel over here, where you can take a look at all the other content I have to offer about investing in my personal investing journey. That's all for me today. I'm Patrick with Apex Wealth Collective. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.